Hello, hello. Let's move this guy up here where people can see him. And let's see. Oh, we need a hat, right? Let's get a captain's hat. And put the captain's hat on. And see if we can find our live. Let's turn that off. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. 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 Can
Hello, hello.
I? Okay, I can hear myself. That's good.
Hello, hello.
Let's turn that off. And let's see if we've got live chat. Okay. And let's see. Type show link to drop your link. Let's pin this. Pin that message. Okay. Okay, so let's put this over here. Let's close that. Let's close that. And let's see if we're really live. Obsessed with Horror. Welcome to my, welcome aboard. Spirit in the Blue Sky. Ahoy. Welcome aboard. I think you can hear me. Let me know if you can't. Um, let's see. This isn't working properly here. Sailing Cook George. That's happy. Welcome aboard. So we're moving, yeah. So the boat's moving. So part of, oh, good. Thanks. So the boat's in the water. This is actually footage from a couple days ago. You can see there's still, the trees aren't green up here. Winter is barely over, although outside our house, the leaves are turning green. And at this time of the, over the winter, we can see the lake from our place. We live sort of at the top of a hill, but as soon as the leaves are on the trees, then all we see is green and no more lake. So it's, hey, stitching it up. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for coming by. So it turns from a lake view to a tree view. Yes, okay, so the drop link works. We're going to try to give people mods so they can connect amongst themselves. I'm not 100% sure I can do that, but I'm going to do that as soon as I have to set up a couple other things here. Let's close that. And let me just connect to this computer and make sure that we've got Wi-Fi access going properly here. That has not yet connected, so we'll see what we're doing there. I think this is unhappy, so let's put that aside for now. And yeah, it was a nice day. It was Monday, the boat went in the water Monday, and it was a wonderful day. It was a wonderful day. So let's see if I can add as a moderator. So I'm going to make you a standard moderator and see what that does to us. Obsessed with Horror. Let's make you a moderator. There we are. So my computer is slow as a dog, and I can click on stuff, and it happens to do something. 5 minutes later, you are a moderator. Who else is in here? Spirit in the blue sky. No, you're a moderator. Okay. I think everybody's a moderator. So yeah, it was a beautiful day, and the water is freezing cold there. So I do like wearing a life jacket. I wear a regular personal flotation device because the ones that inflate, I'm not sure I trust them. Hey Joji, thank you for coming by my live. Took a little bit of a break there. Spirit in the blue sky. How come you're not a moderator? Let's see what I did. Did I not click properly? Add as a moderator. There you are. So this will let people click on each other. And yeah, so the marina holds around 200, 300 boats. There's a few of them are in the water already. They start going in probably middle of April, and mainly the big power boats go in first because they're more enclosed and have better facilities. Power boaters will go out and just camp out on the boat for a while, whereas sailors are a little bit not don't have all the creature comforts of home, so we see a little bit less of that. Okay, so that's that. So yeah, so you can see there's still boats on land there. Quite a few of them. Some people shrink wrap them with a plastic film that keeps the dirt and other crud out in the winter. And you think a boat's in the water all summer long, and if you're in Florida or California, you're in the water, exposed to the weather 365 days of the year. Why do I have to shrink wrap my boat? Typically up here, people charge $500-$600 to shrink wrap a 30 to 35-foot boat, which is not a ton of money, but it's $500, and it does keep things drier. We had a bird's nest that had birds had gotten into the anchor locker, like right at the front of the boat. And by the time that all this happened, we the birds had finished doing their thing, and there was no eggs or anything left. So I took it out. But I guess if there had been birds in there, then don't know what you would do. Would you don't want to destroy the nest, but if you move the boat 500-600 feet away from where it was when the birds last were in their nest, then they're probably not going to get back anyway. So it's let's bring it down just a hair there. Okay. So a little bit of wildlife, but that got dealt with relatively quickly, and now we to get ready for the summer. So the water tanks and the the plumbing is all filled with plumbing antifreeze to prevent damage in the winter, and that has to be dealt with. I'm just going to step away from the camera for just a quarter of a second. Figure out what the problem is here. Whoa. Just reboot something there. So the water system starting to drain out the antifreeze, and it'll get flushed a couple of times with the 50-gallon tank, so it's a fair bit of water. And then once it's been thoroughly flushed, then I fill it again and add a cup of swimming pool antifreeze, swimming pool chlorine, because that has I was going to say flavoring in it. The bleach that you laundry bleach has scent and perfume in it, and that's kind of gross when you use it in your water system. Now, we don't really drink the water in there, so it's just sort of for washing up. If I'm going to drink the water, I always bring a bottle of water. If I'm cooking on the boat that needs water, then I always end up using bottled water, because it's not like we're doing an Atlantic crossing where we're stuck with the only source of water we have is catching rainwater or the water you bring with you. And you think, when explorers in the 15th century crossed the Atlantic in sailboats, and it took like a month, 2 months. Must have been quite a bit of provisions that they would have had to bring at the time. And then once the water system is happy, then the next job will be looking at the propane system. Because now I'm cooking on a propane stovetop, and the boat has a two-burner propane stove on a gimbal, so it sways back and forth when the boat is swaying, so that things don't slide off it, and it has guardrails to keep the pots in place when the boat's swaying from side to side. And I do want to use it for cooking, and I want my cooking videos. Hey DJ, welcome aboard. Let's make you a mod as well, and you can interact with anybody that you want to. Let's see, is this computer fast? This computer's still too slow. Falling asleep here. There it goes. So the propane system, the challenge is it's propane, right? And propane is very flammable. It is hard to detect. The boat has a propane monitor that does detect loose propane. Of course, you got to hope that the monitor works. And so there'll be a few things to check out. I'm not sure that there's a guy that'll come and do that for me where we are. So some of this might have to be done by Zoom meetings over the phone, I guess, while we're trying to not blow up the boat. But I do want that stove to work. It worked in the past. The guy we bought the boat from lived on it semi-permanently, and in the summer, and he said it worked. So we'll assume that it does basically work, but we don't want to find out the hard way that there are issues with it. And the joke is you run a lighter along where all the connections are, and if you get a flame, then you know there's a leak. You're not going to do that. And most of the plumbing for the gas is not easily accessible. So you can't easily reach in and put soapy water on all parts of it and find a leak that way. So some of it will be listening for leaks. Some of it will be, I think we'll buy a new propane monitor and use that to track down any leaks that might be present to prevent weirdness from happening. Let's just get an echo here. And once that is done, then it'll be June or July, and it'll be nice days with decent wind. And hey, Kalman, welcome aboard. Ahoy. Let's make you a moderator as well. Been on your lives many times. We trust you. We know you. Internet friends are friends. And it'll be sailing time. Right now the water is just barely above freezing, and you don't want to fall in. Hypothermia will get you in 5 minutes. And you have 3 inches of rain. We were supposed to get hail and tornadoes in the Toronto area. Now, we haven't had a tornado in maybe 20 years. We do get hail on a regular basis, but they're talking about golf ball size hail. And we got nothing. I did go and check the lines on the boat, and I put up some canvas over the cockpit door to keep the rain out if the rain does get really windy. Here, the boat is tied up facing west, but when we get these storms, the wind is from the east, and we have a saying that an easterly wind blows no good for any sailor. So that would blow the rain right into the cockpit doors. So not much you can do about it. They are rainproof to 99%. But I didn't go down today to check to see. Well, we didn't get enough rain to make it worthwhile. I think I heard it rain overnight for like 2 or 3 minutes. That's all we got in terms of rain. So I guess the other thing that came up over the winter was when I was taking the boat apart in the fall, we managed to lose a window. So the cockpit of the boat is covered with a Dodger. It's like a tent with a roof and clear plastic windows. And I was taking the boat apart in a bit of a heavy wind, and the one window, which is about 2 feet by 3 feet, it was lying on the deck. The wind picked it up and blew it away. So over the winter we had that window replaced by the same people that had built you're seeing a cockpit cover there on that boat that we're passing there on the left side of the screen. And the thing is, they were guessing a little bit about where all the zippers and the snap fasteners go. And they did a pretty good job. So I put that up, and I had to pull on one corner just a little bit more than normal. But it's also because the fabric is, likes are good. Please. I should click my own like. Well, I'll go click my own like. Yeah, let's go click my own like. So they did a pretty good job. They got it to fit properly, and it keeps the rain out and keeps the wind off of my passengers, and so that worked out pretty well. I was kind of worried that I have to take all the parts of it down to this shop, and the shop that built it. They've moved their shop, so it's now like an hour and a half drive. But they did a pretty good job. A company called Genco Marine, for whatever that's worth. It's a family-owned business, and partly what we're seeing is as the owners. I think there's four Genco brothers. As they get older, they sort of change their expectations of what the business is going to do. And in this location, they've stopped selling boat parts because people buy stuff on Amazon for a bit of a saving. And of course, with Amazon, it gets delivered to your door as opposed to having to go somewhere. But as the boat was going in the water, we paint the bottom, and the paint video has gone live, and wax the sides a little bit because it keeps the green crap from growing on the side and reduces the amount of scratches. So a jar of boat polish is $90. Everything that has the word boat on it is 3 times more expensive than the same polish is made by 3M. It's probably the same polish is also made for cars. It's probably a third the price. And my first thought was, well, I'd stop at an auto parts supply store, a place called Canadian Tires. Is our biggest auto parts place. And then I said to myself, no, I'm not going to go to the auto parts store. I'm going to go to the boat store, a company called the Dock Shop that coincidentally is on a boat. So they have a floating barge that was once a sail loft, pretty big, that sells boat stuff. And I felt, and I mentioned it to Michael, the owner, that even if I could save $5 at the auto parts store, it's important to support my local boat store, because if people don't support them, then the things that you can't get in the auto parts store, like a Harkin double block and cam cleat arrangement, auto parts stores don't sell that, so suddenly you can't get that anywhere. And except, again, of course, Amazon. So that we got to support the people that are important to you. I don't know how many boats there are in the Toronto area. This marina, let's say, holds 300. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 10 marinas and yacht clubs. There's 4,000 boaters. It's not a huge customer base. So, got to be good to the people that you might rely on when you really need them. And this guy's open 7 days a week, so with Amazon, there's still a couple of days wait for parts. And you can't look at it beforehand and say, oh, okay, that's really one. No, I wanted a left-handed wing nut as opposed to right-handed wing nut. Yeah, it's a boat store on a boat. It's actually a barge that was converted to, I don't know how old the barge is, but as long as I've been in the area, it was a floating sail lock, so a sailmaker. They would do canvas work and make sails. And again, a family business. And when they ran out of steam on that business, they sold it to this guy, the dock shop guy. So it's kind of cool. So we have another boat store called the Rigging Shop. It is 30 miles away from any water, but they do good business, industrial area, so the rent is low and easily accessible from anywhere in the city. But long way to go if you're trying to buy 20 feet of rope. But they have a following, and some of their sailing expeditions to across the Atlantic has got them a good following. That I think they're on YouTube as well. I have to check to see where they are. So yeah, so the boat's in the water. It needs a couple other things. The dock lines are not happy with the arrangement of them, so they're all going to get replaced to make it easier to by myself to get into the dock, jump off, and there I am staring at the one dock line trying to figure out how I should change its arrangement. They're probably going to get replaced, and I'm thinking of building more of an enclosure. So as I say, we sailed by a boat that has sort of a brownish color full cockpit enclosure. So it's like a full tent that is canvas and plastic windows, and then polypropylene, I guess is a better way to say plastic as opposed to plastic. And then with various kinds of meshing to keep out the mosquitoes. So we don't seem to have a mosquito problem at this marina. I thought we would have more because there is a lot of greenery. There's the woods you see in front of the boat now. That's the Leslie Spit, Tommy Thompson Park. So that's 50, 60 acres of, maybe more, 100 acres of basically wilderness with a lot of water. Some of it not stagnant, but pools of water inside its domain. And you would have thought there'd be more bugs, but we're pretty good from a bug point of view. If I could sail anywhere, would I sail? So the only other, I've only sailed I've sailed in a couple other places. I've sailed in L.A., in Marina del Rey, briefly. I've sailed in Florida, briefly in the, not in the intercoastal, but in outside of Miami, out to the Barrier Islands, only once. Chartered a boat in the British Virgin Islands. That was wonderful. It was a little bit getting close to hurricane season, so sort of the end of the summer. And the question was maybe wait till the winter. Because in that area, hurricane season starts October, and this was August, right? The first week of August, yeah. And we did have a tropical swell. Well, it wasn't that bad. It was 30-mile-an-hour wind, so that wasn't bad. It wasn't that. It was only one day. And I've sailed in Vancouver Island in the Georgia Strait of Georgia. which was beautiful as well in the summer. So uh, I think the Caribbean is my choice. Um, would I go to Europe? Would I go to the Mediterranean? If somebody said you want to go, I'd go, but it's not on the list. I'm happy with our little bit of fresh water. We get decent wind. It's close to home. You can sleep on the boat or you can go home. Um, a lot of options. The, getting to be a homebody a little bit to some extent, and where the boat is now, it's a 15-minute drive from home, um, half an hour bicycle ride. So it's a good location. And yeah, when those trees are green, it ends up being a very beautiful scene. The trees break the wind a little bit, which is a good thing, especially if you got, as I say, they were talking about 60-kilometer winds, so that's what 40-mile-an-hour winds. So that's a significant wind. A windbreak is a good thing. If we'd had the tornadoes that they were talking about, then of course nothing can stop a tornado. But the weather people, I guess, were overly pessimistic about that. Although I heard in New York State, upper New York State, there was some significant storm damage, and somebody said you got three inches of rain in Texas. So 3 inches that's real water. Especially if you're in an area that doesn't expect it. So the drainage and sewer systems don't work adequately to keep this from keep the water away from us. The the let me just change something here. The yeah, so it was a good day. Um, Today we cooked spam, so I'm back to cooking. So I've always liked the concept of spam, and Spamalot was a great movie. I thought that was John Cleese and his merry band of merry band, and he yeah, so he made fun of spam, and as a kid we got spam at home, and other people called it more generically luncheon meat because spam, of course, has bad connotations because spam is the bad connotations of internet junk. Anyway, so bought some spam, and did a green eggs and spam, a takeoff on the green eggs and ham book, which my kids did read. I don't remember all of the words, but something was like, and I might confuse it with Sam I am. I will not eat green eggs and ham. But eggs and spam were really good. I mean, it's just ham, right? Although it says pork and ham, so you envision pork byproducts, which is basically a hot dog, right? And the the other thing I wanted to do, in the can of spam, there is a picture of, I don't have one handy here, there's a picture of a spam burger. So it's basically spam in a bun with tomato and lettuce and onion and mustard. So I wanted to recreate that image, and we'll post that in the next few days. We'll see if anybody thinks that I did a good job of recreating the image, whether the Hormel company is going to call me up and ask me to be part of the next advertising campaign, or whether they they would say that I have besmirched their name. That if, but again, the objective was fooling around to see if I could recreate the look of their promotional picture on their can. And that actually came out of a project that I had worked on that isn't finished yet, of recreating famous advertisement pictures. The interesting thing I discovered when I started buying spam again is that the Hormel company makes a lot of other stuff, and one of the things that they make is pre-cooked bacon that keeps without a fridge. And if you're on a boat, some boats, many boats have no fridge. We have a small fridge, but small is too small to store all the stuff you'd keep in your fridge at home. So you want to store provisions, the pantry stuff that will keep well without needing the fridge. And so I do plan to buy their bacon and compare it to the other bacon that we've been using, pre-cooked bacon. It tastes like bacon. It tastes better than artificial, like soybean-based bacon, which I think is a travesty. That people would make soybean-based bacon, but if you're looking for a plant-based diet, then it gives you the basic structure and texture of bacon, with the flavor of meat, right, which is really the salt and the sodium nitrate and the smell of fried meat. Which, again, I don't understand the concept of veganism and have no real opinions on it, but if you're going to have meat, you might as well have meat. If you don't, I don't see the need for fake bacon. There are a lot of good plant-based things. All of the food that's made out of chickpeas, and I've done photography for a lot of Indian restaurants. There's so many chickpea-based recipes and chickpea burgers and chickpea with every flavor that go with chickpeas and be happy with calling them chickpeas as opposed to processing the chickpeas into something that they're not. And then people go on about ultra-processed food when you get good protein, plant-based proteins from chickpeas and other beans, other legumes that to me taste great. I've tried many of the Indian, Pakistani, Afghani, chickpea-based recipes. I did one on this channel, and I like the taste. I like the texture. The chickpeas have a nice. They taste good because there's a bit of bite to them. A little bit of. They're not mushy like green peas. Green peas are. I like the color, but green peas are not high on my list of things that I want in the rest of my life. So yeah, so we'll just be doing some spam things, and I just posted a pasta dish that I was fascinated when I came across it first on TikTok, and this was a takeoff of Meghan Markle's cooking show that the internet seems to be divided on their thoughts on that show, and the Duchess of Sussex's cooking prowess. But her thing was to make a pasta dish all in one pot. So the one pot thing is important from a boat point of view, because you have two pots, you got to wash two pots. So then you got to have water for two pots washing them. So it's a lot of effort. If you can make it all in one pot, then a lot less cleaning up. So what she did on her cooking show was a pasta dish where you should put tomatoes and spinach right in the water that the pasta goes in, and then let the pasta cook. And by measuring the water carefully, you end up with no leftover water when the pasta is fully cooked. And then added stuff afterwards. So in my first attempt at that, I basically added shrimp once the noodles were pretty well cooked, and the concept works out well now. The problem the internet has with Meghan Markle's approach to this is that Martha Stewart did the same thing 12 years ago, and none of us went all gaga about it. Now, we also didn't have the internet. Well, we didn't have TikTok anyway, 12 years ago. So we didn't have the opportunity to analyze and criticize and emulate and pontificate on whether it's a good way to cook or a bad way to cook. And then apparently the internet says that Martha Stewart didn't invent it either. She learned it, stole it, borrowed it. Apparently you cannot patent or copyright a recipe. She borrowed it from a chef in Italy, so who probably borrowed it from his mother, and if it goes back to the beginning of time. Moto mining. It is. I'm live. I'm here, and this video is from 3 days ago when my boat went into water, and I'm sort of reliving 3 days ago. It was a beautiful day. Thanks for coming aboard, and hit like and subscribe if you have the time. So it's a screencast. Just me babbling doesn't seem like a very useful thing. So it's sharing a little bit of what we've gone through in the last couple of days and getting the boat ready. It's a neat way to share some of this stuff. It's live. I guess it's an opportunity for me to babble incessantly. um, and relive and share some of these experiences. So, yeah, we're talking earlier about sailing in Vancouver. We sailed once from Qualicum across the strait and back for a week. It was beautiful. It was beautiful scenery. It was good weather. Not a lot of wind, but that was okay. We didn't really want super windy. Came across uh, log booms for the first time. I read about them. Tugs towing log booms down the sound, and it was interesting, and of course scary to think that if you weren't aware of the fact that there's a chain between the tugboat and the boom, then hey, Nancy Green, welcome aboard. The you run this your boat into this chain, and if you're out in the dark, um, there is lighting apparently that is supposed to warn you that um, it there's a boat out there, but it does sound rather scary. So we're not night sailors anyway, so that wouldn't have been much of the case. But no, Vancouver, it was a beautiful place. Actually, somebody else asked where else I'd sail. I actually sailed out of Vancouver Harbor. There's there's a marina under the bridge. The name escapes me. Um, Sailed out of there once. It was the first time I sailed with a tide, and the tide was running out while I was heading back, and we had a bit of a breeze, but I think we were going backwards, or we were going further and further away from land, more than getting closer to land. And then the tide changed in the middle of all of this, and got back there. But it was again, it was sort of a learning experience of how do you deal with new things that you haven't dealt with before. We're on Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario has no tides. The water is higher and lower from time to time, but the concept of a tide and the tidal current doesn't apply. 1111 coded Shoalink is one word, no space. Otherwise, Nightbot won't know what you're up to. The So the tide was a bit of a scare. Tried kayaking in one of the keys of Florida, again with a tide, and that was also surprised that you could paddle as hard as you thought you were going, and you're going the other way because the tide was carrying you back into shore. So it's a thing. You live and learn, and if you don't learn, then I guess you don't live. So it's kind of scary to look at it in that way. But it becomes a thing. So where we are, the water is pretty flat. We get if we get a decent breeze, like so a 20-mile-an-hour wind, a 20-knot wind. Yeah, that's gusty, and we're not that interested in that. Used to be a racer many years ago, and racers like wind because that's what differentiates different skill levels to some extent. But this boat is not a racing boat. This captain is no longer a racing captain, and basically it's a floating cottage. But it's a wonderful way to spend some time. We'll we'll have a good summer, and now with doing cooking as a YouTube thing, spend more time actually on the boat uh, as a cooking activity as opposed to cooking being something that you just did because people were hungry or you wanted to feed them after a hot sunny day. I've talked to a couple of fishing lives, and haven't fished in 50 years since I was a kid when my father would take me sailing. Now I discovered that old people like me don't need licenses in Ontario. Now, a license is like $20. It's not a big deal, but it's one more thing to not deal with. And we're gonna start trolling a line off the back of the boat and do a couple of catch and cook episodes. Yeah, motor mining. Yeah, that sounds kind of interesting. Small motorboat, wooden boat. Yeah, yeah. I never had a motorboat. Every boat I've had was a sailboat. The first three, the first two, didn't have a motor, and then ended up with outboards for two boats, then inboards for two boats. And the advantage of an outboard is there's much more control over where you're going under power. With an inboard, you're basically relying on the rudder to push the water around, and there's not that much control. I watch people with two outboards so they can get the propellers going in opposing directions and turn on a dime kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know if I would go between the chain and the hull of an anchored freighter. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. So that at least it's not going to go anywhere that you're not going to become well aware of. I'd be more afraid of getting in front of a moving freighter. And when you look at a lakes freighter, 1,000 feet, 50, 100 feet wide, that thing pushes a huge bow wave that, yeah, you won't hit the boat, you'll hit the bow wave, and that will capsize you. Yeah, so the big challenge is the bit warmer weather. May 24th is a long weekend here, Victoria Day weekend, Queen Victoria celebration. We get the day off, also referred to as May 24. And so usually you end up with good weather by then, and we'll be in full swing. Hopefully we'll get that propane system under control. And then probably look forward to sleeping on the boat a few times again. No motor mining. We're in Toronto, Lake Ontario. At one point in this recorded video, you see the CN Tower in the distance. And the marina we're in is not really downtown, but if you drove from the marina to the heart of the banking district, it would be a 5-minute drive. Yeah, no, Qualicom, we rented a boat there once. It was supposed to be a CNC 38. We ended up with something smaller. But it was good. It was good. I enjoyed that week. And we do have some relatives in Qualicum, so it's um, it's out there. It yeah. See the boat I'm on now is a 32 footer, so a 38 is huge. And every time you get on a bigger boat, you say to yourself, "This thing is huge. How can anybody control this thing?" And then you learn very quickly. No, I'm watching cruise ships anchoring on the internet, and also watching in Fort Lauderdale and in Port of Miami. And you say to yourself, "This thing is so huge, yet they bring it to within like a foot of a dock without crushing the dock or crushing the boat, or there's so much skill that captains have in, in maneuvering. Also, bow thrusters help, of course, because then they say the propellers that go sideways. Yeah, I don't know banana split. I don't know where they filmed Gilligan's Island. I'd never seen it as a kid, and then we saw it recently, and you're looking at it and you're saying, um, it's totally improbable. The famous boat that I know of is Farley Mode had a boat, and he wrote a book about the boat that wouldn't float, and that boat was tied up in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, for a few years, and we'd spend summers there, and pass this thing on the highway every summer. And then one year the boat was gone because they were constructing a new interchange, and the boat was in the way, and I guess the history of the boat wasn't as important as a highway. I think they made the right decision. It was just a boat, and it was a boat that wouldn't float anyway. But Farley Mode is a little bit of a folk hero here, and it was an interesting boat. I'd read the book, and so it was sort of interesting to see the boat. It was kind of neat. Yeah. So Coconut Island is where the Gilligan's Island was filmed. I'm not familiar. The it seems far-fetched, but nevertheless, it's kind of interesting, you know, the nautical aspects of it. This evening, we ended up watching the last few minutes of a show called Wings, and I was thinking to myself, there's so few people have airplanes, yet they made a TV show about airplanes and an airport on Nantucket. I think it's on Nantucket. And it's kind of neat. I don't have an airplane, but some of the scenarios are kind of interesting. Now, I've flown on airplanes, so I guess I consider myself an expert. But yeah, I started watching some of the Below Decks series, and they're kind of interesting. I mean, the charter boat crew in the Caribbean, and I've spoken to a few people who have worked on charter boats there, and the scenarios are not that far-fetched. A little more romance and than is real, but yeah, I don't know what V2V is. That one of the ferries, the high-speed ferries? I only once I was out in Vancouver for a conference, and for a group of consultants, and for dinner we were supposed to go to Victoria, and so we're supposed to get the ferry out after this conference was over. And for some reason, I wanted to do something totally different, and I missed that ferry, and then I'd been back to Vancouver 5 or 6 times, but never got excited enough about taking a ferry ride. Probably should. Been on the ferries in Bermuda, there's a fast ferry in Bermuda. It's kind of neat. It was a sort of a touristy kind of thing. We run a bunch of ferries in Toronto that go nowhere. Although we have one old ferry, it's 110 years, 120 years old, and it's steam powered and has paddle wheels. And I take pictures. So one day we're out sailing, not this boat, probably the boat before it, in the harbor. And I'm taking pictures of ferries. So I took a picture of this thing called Trillium, which is now a historical thing because it's old and steam powered and doesn't work because they can't find all the parts for it. But so the post office decided they were going to do a series on stamps on ferries in Canada. And if you have bought or come across the ferry series from last year, 2024, maybe 2023, the Trillium Ferry in Toronto is my photo. So the post office found me on Flickr, and they bought the rights to the picture and paid respectably well. I thought they made nickel and diamond, but they paid a nice licensing fee for that. And so my photo of a boat is famous. Now, famous is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So I expected that there would be a drink party and a dinner party for me afterwards, but no. All I did was they gave me some free stamps, and they gave me a book that includes my photo of a bunch of semi-famous photos taken in Canada in that year. I guess it's 2023 at this rate. And so my photo of a ferry is sort of famous. Hey, Angelic, yeah, painting the bottom of the boat. So it's we're not in salt water, first of all. We're freshwater. But the reason for painting the bottom is to keep the algae from growing on it. And that brilliant copper color, I've been using it for years, but it was decided by the environmental agencies. Hey, Jody, welcome aboard. That copper-based paint was determined to be not good for, if nothing else, not good for the kind of algae that wants to grow on boats. So it has been banned in Canada as of this year. The thing was banned. It was made by Intralux, an American company. The thing was banned in the States 4 years ago. So we got the remaining inventory. And it's good stuff because algae doesn't grow on it. We don't have barnacles because it's not salt water. And everything just washes off. And it can be easily painted over year after year without a lot of maintenance or sanding. But now that it's no longer sold or no longer legal, we've got to come up with something new. And and I've talked to a few people that gone with the alternatives that the paint company is providing, and a little bit more work. But the coppery stuff lasts 1 year. Um, the new stuff lasts 5 years. It's Interless offshore, so it's designed to be offshore. Mussel growth in freshwater, we have zero mussels. So they came from the boat that we all blame China. May or may not be true. Um, they flushed their hold in the lake and discouraged zero mussels. The zero mussels are very small mussels. They're about a centimeter, 2 centimeters, so it's like a little bit less than an inch big. They're probably not edible. The seagulls and the cormorants like them. They grow. The most I've ever seen, I had a rope lying in the water for a year that I hadn't noticed. It was hanging at the end of a dock. And when I pulled it up in the fall, it was covered with zebra mussels. So they're zebra because they're black and white. The problem is, they get into where I've had them. They get into your water intake for your engine cooling water, and they either block the hole, or if they don't block it, because the shells are very hard. If they get into the water pump impeller is sort of a flexible, rubbery, plasticky composite material. They will tear that to shreds, and so they're not a good thing. There's no solution short of insecticiding the lake, but then you're going to kill a lot of other things. So they're an invasive species that that you're sort of stuck with. So our boats come out in the winter, so you pour water up the hose and stick your finger in there to see if there's anything growing, and get rid of it. Again, if you're looking at compared to boats in the ocean, Atlantic or Pacific, we have a lot less crap that's going to grow and cause trouble. I'm thinking to myself, last time I saw a bunch of mussels, I guess I saw a bunch of mussel shells washed up on the beach here in Toronto in the winter. And I asked myself, well, why can't we figure out how to turn them into food? Kind of gross when you think about it, if you knew where it came from. But it's the same way we complain about Canada geese, both because they run into airplanes and down airplanes, and they poop all over, and no matter where you walk, especially in the marine area, goose poop all over your shoes. Or cormorants. We're all upset about cormorants because they kill trees from their poop. Now, many parts of the states, Mississippi, I believe, is one that I've read about, allow hunting of Canada geese and cormorants to control the population. But we're too environmentally friendly up here. So, seagulls. We have seagulls. They don't bother me that much. We see them along the lake. They don't cause a huge amount of. Well, that's not true. I do remember some people getting pooped on by a seagull on my boat, which is kind of gross. And we do have to wash it off. But the swallows, we've got red-winged blackbirds. Oh yeah, so yeah, if you're next to a garbage dump, then that attracts more wildlife than many places. Here out in the Toronto Island, there's an airport, Billy Bishop Airport, YTZ for those that are into the airport acronyms. You see them out with trucks with horns, trying to scare the creatures away. My understanding is they fire blank shotgun shells at them. My solution is, why should they be blank? And they need them, but I have not yet been asked. Maybe if I took a picture of one, it would be on a stamp, and then I could express my opinion. So I need to deal with a couple other things. Gone through this video 4 times. It was 15 minutes long, 15 hours. Hopefully we'll do some live sitting in the back of the boat. It's like, gotta make sure the Wi-Fi is adequate there. I'll try to do some lives right off the back of the boat. I think that would be kind of neat. But I say we'll have to figure out how good the Wi-Fi is to see if that is a workable arrangement. And now it'll have to be a little bit earlier in the day because at night you can't see a thing. So we'll see if anybody's interested in what I have to say then. And I hope to I thank you all for coming out to my live. I hope to drop by all of yours and support everybody that wants to grow on YouTube and wants to share some of their experiences. So thank you all. I'm going to say aloha, because I think aloha is Hawaiian for goodbye and hello. Hello and goodbye. We'll do this again. Have a good evening, guys. Well, evening my time. It's 9:30 in the evening here. Ciao.